All right, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to Computer and Network Forensics. My name's Mike Maybe. If you are a really formal person, you may call me Dr. Maybe, but I've always kind of felt like that made me sound like a really bad Bond villain or something, right? So please feel free to call me Mike. I am so excited to teach this course. This course is what I focused my entire graduate studies on while I was here at ASU. I just graduated ASU last year, last December. So I guess that's now not last year. I don't know how that computes, but December 2017, I got my PhD here at ASU. And so I love this course because it changed my life kind of. Anyway, there's a lot of really interesting things about forensics that I am going to love sharing with you, and I hope that you develop a passion for it like I do. But if you don't, I hope you at least have some fun along the way, okay? So I'm Dr. Mike Maybe, if you want to call me Dr. Maybe. I am an alumnus of ASU. I got my master's and PhD here. So I started maybe I shouldn't tell you, huh? I started here at ASU fall 2009, got my master's spring 2011, and then graduated December. So I've been here for a long time, and I love ASU. And anyway, so currently I am technically an adjunct faculty or faculty associate, depending on where you look up what my official title is. What does that mean? This is not my full-time job. My full-time job is actually with the U.S. Army, so I just worked mostly a full day before I came here to lecture. We'll talk more about the implications of that in a little bit when we get into some other things, but this is not my full-time job. Again, I need you to appreciate that if we're going to have a good relationship here. So along with that, I have no office here because it's not my job. We'll talk about how we're going to communicate and make sure that you're good and have your questions answered in just a little bit. But I have no office. I'm not a professor. This is not my full-time job. So I will have office hours every Tuesday. So even today, I will have office hours after this class. So if there's stuff that you need to talk to me about with getting set up for this course or have special accommodations that you need to talk to me about, I will be available today. I'm actually going to do them up. I don't think I updated this slide. So I'll do them upstairs next door in 420. That's a little lab. That's where all three of us are going to do our office hours. So this is where you can reach me at my ASU email address. And everything that you're going to need to check out is on my website, mikemaybe.com. Don't spell maybe wrong. I haven't registered the typo version of the domain yet. So that wasn't funny. Okay, moving on. So I want to introduce my TAs. Guys, why don't you stand up? We've got Adam West. I've never been 100% sure on the Oast? Oast. Totally different than what I've been pronouncing. I apologize. Adam Oast and Sokwa, I'm not even going to try. Last name? Okay. Sokwa is good. Yeah. So these guys are awesome. When I was a PhD student, I worked with them. They know their stuff. Adam was actually a TA last year, 2 years ago, and Sokwa took it and got an A. We'll say it was an A, right? Last year, and so they know their stuff. They're not new to forensics, so you're not just getting some random graduate student. I picked good guys that I knew I could rely on, okay? So I'm vouching for them, and they're not going to let me down, right? So this is how you can contact them. These are where their desks are if you want to go harass them, but please wait until office hours, okay? So Adam will be available on Thursdays, Sokwa will be available on Wednesdays, I'm available on Tuesdays. So we have 3 different days, 3 different times of day that you can come and talk to us. If these don't work out, we can arrange something. But you can sit down, you don't have to stay up the whole time. So the next thing that I'm kind of semi-obligated to talk to you about is InfoSec at ASU, okay? So if you've taken any other IA courses here at ASU, you've seen similar slides, right, where we talk about what the IA program is like here at ASU. So we have 2 undergraduate IA concentration programs, BS and BSE, and we have 3 graduate IA concentration programs, MCS, MS, and PhD. These are the 2 I got. I can't vouch for the, no, I'm just kidding. These are really good programs, and especially with the professors that we've been bringing on in the last year, like even just since I've been gone, I'm really impressed with the caliber of professors. I continually am. When I came to ASU, I didn't know how good of a program the IA concentration was. All I knew was that they had an area in security, which is what I was interested in, and that it was a really reputable school. And then I got here and met the professors and started taking some of the classes, and I was amazed at the high quality of the courses and the professors that are here. So if you have any interest in information assurance, you're in a really good place. So we have the concentration in, for bachelor's degree, there's a minimum of 15 credits in IA and related areas. These are the courses that you can take. You, of course, are in 469 computer network forensics. I took network security. I TA'd for data and information security. I taught introduction to information assurance. Oh, hey, this is now 365. I need to update that. Computer system security, I actually had transfer credits. So this is the only one that I don't know about, but the rest of them, really good courses. Graduate level security classes, applied cryptography is very good. I don't know who's teaching it these days because I took it lots of years ago, probably when most of you were in junior high. Information assurance security, software security, really good. Advanced computer network security, this kicked my butt because the semester I took it, they were doing this kind of pilot thing where they were like, okay, well, we want to figure out if it's better or worse for graduate courses to be condensed to half a semester. It was worse, so much worse, because we had like 4-hour lectures, 6 hour, I don't even remember. It was crazy. No, I think it was like 3-hour lectures twice a week. It was just like, it was not fun, but it was a good course. I learned a lot. And then this semester, we actually have a seminar, Computer Security Techniques and Tactics. This is from one of the new professors, Tiffany Bao. She's excellent. I haven't taken a look at the syllabus for that course, but she comes from a place and she associates with people that really know their stuff. So by association, she's got to be cool, right? Okay, so here's kind of how everything is built in the IA program here at ASU. So you take 365, which kind of introduces you to a lot of the basic concepts in the information assurance area. And then once you've taken that, you're ready to take some of these other more topical courses. So not as general, more specific, getting into some of the deeper details of that topic. And of course, you are in this one, 469, forensic computing. Why is it forensics computing? Anyway. And then from here, once you've taken all 4 of these kind of more topical courses, you are ready to do some really cool projects and advanced courses in graduate level courses, doing research with professors. So we've got a really great program here. And of course, NHS has designated the IA program here at ASU as a National Center of Academic Excellence, which is a badge of honor, but also affords you opportunities that you would not have other places, such as scholarships that are sponsored by the government, which I was a recipient of, and I've been really grateful that I had that. Okay, so that's the InfoSec at ASU spiel. Maybe some of you, though, aren't quite as familiar with what the difference is between computer security and computer forensics, and might be because the two are talked about in almost the same breath a lot of times, right? So we've got security and forensics, right? We even have the Center for Cybersecurity and Digital Forensics here at ASU. Why do we put them together? We've got this this IEEE transactions on information forensics and security. They're talked about a lot together. And in order to appreciate the difference, let's talk a little bit about security, computer security, what it is, what the principles are, and how they differ from forensics. So if you're going to understand anything about computer security, this is it, the CIA triad, right? So CIA stands for something specific, not Central Intelligence Agency, but rather confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So confidentiality, that means that what needs to be secret is kept secret. In other words, you don't want to improperly disclose information when it should not be disclosed. Integrity means that any information that is disseminated is not modified in an unauthorized way. Okay, and availability means that if someone tries to prevent your access, availability, if you maintain availability, their attempt to deny you access will not be successful. That was a really wordy way of saying that. Let's use some examples. So confidentiality, you should not come to know the scores of your classmates in this class. So there are laws, FERPA laws that protect your privacy as a student, right? So I can't disclose your grades to someone else in the class or even your parents unless they have one of the rules that is allowed by law, right? That's confidentiality. We have to keep that information can only be disseminated to the proper channels, right? Integrity, you should not be able to change yours or others' scores in this class. So that's something that only I and the TAs can do, that we have that authority, right? We maintain that integrity. You shouldn't be able to change it. Availability, you should not be able to view the assignments I'm reading sideways here. You should always be able to view the assignments on the course website. So if I'm actually kind of proud of my website setup. Yeah, right. So I use Cloudflare. Who knows what Cloudflare is? What's Cloudflare?
It's all the ways of service.
Yeah. So yeah, and one of the ways they do that is through what's called a content delivery network. So they've got servers placed all around the globe, right? And they cache the data from my site. So what's actually serving my website is GitHub pages, but then Cloudflare caches everything. So when you request my website, you're actually hitting Cloudflare servers. Not very often are you going to is your request going to go all the way to GitHub pages. So I've built in an extra layer of availability for my website so that you should always be able to access the information that's on there. Okay, so there are a couple other principles that tie in with computer security that are kind of important to be aware of. The first is authenticity. So this means that if you send a message, I can actually tell that it was you that sent it, that it's authentic. The source of that message really is who they claim to be. And the second one is non-repudiation. This is the assurance that someone, after they send a message, can't deny that they sent it, right? These are kind of cryptographic terms. If you're not familiar with them, it's actually not going to play into any of the rest of this semester. This is more like for your information. But that's very much in the realm of computer security rather than forensics. But two quick examples: authenticity. You should not pretend as the TA to send an email to your classmates. So if you get an email from the TAs, you should be able to tell with some level of assurance that it really did come from the TAs. And then the TA can't send out a message and then deny that they sent it out. Okay, so that's computer security. Let's talk about what the goals of digital forensics is. First is, so forensics is defined as relating to the use of scientific knowledge or methods in solving crime, okay? So basically we're taking our understanding of digital devices and storage and things like that, and applying them to figure out who did something that was against the law or was inappropriate. Okay, so this could also just be a post-mortem, and forensic analysis after a computer or network is compromised. So that happens a lot in industry where it's really important that they understand how a particular machine got compromised, how that vulnerability, how that vulnerability was exploited, or what happened, so that they can then reverse engineer kind of work backwards and come up with a patch to make sure it never happens again. And then the final one is we want to be able to acquire the data even if the original owner or originator doesn't want it back. So this principle, this goal of forensics, is what really distinguishes forensics from data recovery. So a lot of the principles remain the same, that you're using your understanding of a system to pull information off of it, but your objective and your purpose is different. And actually, this last point, what you're doing here is you're breaching confidentiality. So if I created a file that, for whatever reason, is against the law, and I don't want you to see that, then if confidentiality was not breached, you would not be able to obtain that data, right? But forensics breaches the security principle of confidentiality in order to solve a crime. Any questions? Anyone asleep yet? Great. Just don't tell me. Okay, so some of the objectives of this course is I want to get you some hands-on experience with forensics and actually doing exercises and programming assignments. One of the shortcomings that I've kind of felt this course has had in the past is that the students that left this class were really well prepared to use forensic tools. I know that about a third, maybe a sixth of the class are not computer science majors, right? Who's not a computer science major? If you dare raise your hand. Okay. They're not, I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm sorry. I should have put a more positive spin on that. That face, that's going to happen often this semester, where I don't know what to say for a second. Okay, so as computer scientists and computer systems engineers, right? Okay, I see it to be a better fit for you to lead this class knowing how to write forensic programs. Okay, I see that as a higher objective than just knowing how to use a tool. Because if you can write your own tool, then you can go out there and make contributions to open source forensic tools. If there's not a tool that does what you need it to for forensic purposes, you have that ability. You practice. You haven't just gone in there and known how to click here and there and browse stuff and have a program do a search for you. So that's kind of the spin that I'm taking on this course that's different from previous years. Now, what does that translate into? That translates into more programming assignments. So traditionally, this course only had like 3 assignments that weren't that technically difficult. I'm changing that because I feel like it wasn't quite rigorous enough for a 400 level course. I want you to learn this stuff, and the way you learn it is by code. So I guess I can only speak from my own experience, but when I started coding programs, forensic programs, I had to step through the logic of what I was doing. It made me internalize the principles, and I want you to have that benefit too. Is that fair? I'm getting a lot of head nods, so hopefully you agree. Another thing I'm going to do is introduce you to reading research papers. I haven't finalized the list of papers, but one thing we're going to do this semester is how many graduate students and honors students do we have? It changed a lot as I was watching the enrollment. A little bit higher. Hey, that's higher than it was. Oh, hey, You're trying to be
No, I
sneaky.
was teasing her. She
Oh,
said,
okay. Okay, so that's great. That's more than last time I checked a couple weeks ago. So, all of you that just raised your hands, you're going to be required to present on one of these research papers. Everybody else has to do a report, but you also have to do a presentation, and that's an excellent skill to have as an honor student and as a grad student, because that's how you communicate your work to others. So it's a very important skill to have. So we're going to practice that. We're also going to introduce you to real-world security forensics by inviting external speakers. Oh, you guys, I'm so excited about these speakers that I got. I feel like I know just enough people to get some really cool guest speakers in here. So we have one person from here at ASU, so someone that's more academic, but she has testified to Congress on the credit union, Equifax hearings. She testified before Congress, okay? So she knows her stuff, and she's going to talk to us a little bit about kind of policy and law and how that relates to forensics. I also have a contact at the FBI. I was close to working there at the FBI here in Phoenix, and she's going to come in. I don't know what she's going to share, but I've heard her speak a few times, and it's always really interesting. And then a third guy, I actually haven't met him in person, but he's worked in industry doing forensic consulting for years. And so academia, industry, and government speakers, I'm really excited for you guys to have those guest speakers. So that's the third objective, kind of goal that we're going to get after. Okay. If you take away nothing else from this particular lecture, this is what I want you to take away, okay? Agreed? There are two essential components to forensics. Everybody gets out their pencil and starts writing. Two essential, okay. The first is the process, okay? This is the most important piece of forensics. What does this mean? First of all, this is what distinguishes forensics from data recovery and bug hunting and everything else, right? For those kind of things, you just kind of go in there and you do your thing and you pull out your results and you're done. Forensics, you can't do that. So there's a process that tells you how to actually acquire the data, handle it, and analyze the evidence properly, which I don't think we'll get into it today, but next time we'll talk about why that's so critical in terms of like not violating laws and things like that. Also, this process tells you what precautions you need to take and what pitfalls to be aware of. And this is the difference. The process is the difference between evidence being admissible in court and not being admissible, okay? And if the process is good, it can apply to a lot of different types of forensic evidence. If it's not so good, then it's going to be a little more constrained in what it can apply to. Process is critical to forensics. Please don't forget that, okay? That is a very important part of forensics. The second key element to forensics is technical knowledge. So this is where you actually take your deep understanding of a specific technology that you need to extract data from and leverage this process to actually get it out, right? So you have to be able to answer the question, how is the data stored at the binary level? If you don't know that, then you're going to be limited to only using tools. And if you're only limited to using tools, you're not even going to know how to use them to the level that you might need to actually solve a case, right? And this question of how the data is stored at the binary level, well, we'll talk about it in a second. So the technical side is where most of the forensic research is done, okay? So this process, there is some research on how to improve the process. There was actually a whole chapter in my dissertation on a new process. Well, it's kind of a model, but a lot of the research is, okay, how do we reconstruct a JPEG that is corrupted in this way? Or how do we pull this information out of memory? That's the technical side of things. Everyone in forensics needs to know the process. not everyone in forensics needs to understand the technical area because there's so many different technical areas to get really good at, okay? So process is critical, so is technical knowledge, but you don't have to know everything, okay? That was your big takeaway from today. Just as kind of to summarize this discussion, digital forensics is the application of technical knowledge to extract information from evidence while adhering to a lawful process, okay? That's Mike Mabey's definition of digital forensics, okay? Let's talk about the prerequisites for this course. Who remembers what the prerequisite is? This is your first quiz and you all just failed. No. What's up?
310.
Yeah, 310. So the way it's worded, I guess in the course catalog it's not worded like this way, but you've got to have some knowledge of the information system, computer networks, and their operations, which is what you get in 310. So the reason why this is critical, not for the algorithm side of things, but for the data structure side of things, okay? So we just talked about how critical it is to understand how data is stored at the binary level. Am I going to expect you to know how everything is stored at the binary level before you enter this course? No. No, I'm not. That's something that we're going to explore. And actually, after we talk about the process, we're going to go into file systems and email and cloud, like all those things that we're going to talk about how the data is stored at the binary level. But you've got to have the ability to understand that, right? So here's an example. This is kind of a contrived example, but I think it's helpful to this discussion. So if I were to give you this data structure right here, and then tell you that a short is 2 bytes, an int is 2 bytes, and a double is 4 bytes, you should be able to tell me which hex values from this data sample represents the person's age, okay? If this blew your mind, you might struggle in this class, okay? When I TA'd for this class, when I took this class, I've guest lectured for this class, I know this class, this is where students struggle the most, is being able to, for me to give you information like this and for you to figure out, oh, well, the age is going to be these 2 bytes right here, these hex values. I don't know what they mean, I don't know what they are, but this is where it is. Okay, and I'm not saying that you needed to have already known how to do that. I'm saying that you need to be able to learn how to do that. Okay, otherwise you're gonna struggle in this class. And I hope that me being so forthright is helpful to you. That's my objective. I don't want to discourage you, but I don't want you to come into this class not knowing what's expected. Is that fair? Okay, so data structures, kind of important. I don't care that you remember specific things from the data structures class. I don't care that you remember algorithms part of the data structures algorithm class, but you've got to be able to extract binary data. Okay. Textbooks. Okay, let's talk about the textbooks. So I'm not requiring you to purchase either of these textbooks. Having said that, I am human. Surprise. I know I'm really tall, but I'm human. I'm not, I'm not a superhero. I'm not an alien. I'm human. I cannot, it's not possible for me to explain something that in a way that will always make sense to everyone. I see it as my purpose as an instructor to do everything that I can to help you understand the material. But sometimes my best isn't going to be enough, or sometimes the lecture recording, this is actually being recorded right now, just the slides and the audio, but even the lecture recordings might not be enough for you to get the information that you need to understand the principles we're talking about. You might need to refer to an actual textbook. And I strongly recommend that you spend the money on these 2 textbooks. They're very good. The Guide to Computer Forensics and Investigations, this is edition 6. When I took this course, it was edition 3. And there are a lot of new things in here that are new to this specific edition. So even edition 5 doesn't have as much content on like cloud forensics and mobile forensics that I want to cover. This also, the focus of this, the first book is more on how to become a forensic investigator, okay? How to use tools, some of the underlying things, but it doesn't really get into the lower level details. And that's where this book comes into play. I think these two books really complement each other really well. We're going to talk about file systems. And if you need to look up the binary structure of a supernode for ext3, it's in here, right? This will be your reference. I will provide references in the lecture materials and online, but sometimes you need an extra explanation or something, right, to go along with it. So I'm not going to make you, but I highly recommend that you consider purchasing these two books for this course, especially since there's a very clear way in which both of them will help you in homework assignments and the project. Okay, I'm not taking assignments from them. That's why they're not required, but they'll be helpful. Any questions so far? Sorry, I haven't stopped as many times as I like to normally to ask for questions. Everybody good? Okay. Okay, we'll cover this. I like to take kind of a break in the middle of my lecture, give your brains a rest so that you can absorb more information, right? So we'll take a break in just a second. Course communication. If there are only two things that you take from this course, the first would be the process and technical knowledge part that we talked about earlier. The second is this. Actually, maybe this one's first. I can't decide. First of all, this is my course website specifically for this course. That's how you get to it. That's where the syllabus and the lecture slides and links to the recordings and everything's going to be, okay? Exam grades, we're going to post them on Gradescope. I've never used Gradescope before. What I've seen from it, though, is awesome because you get really detailed and consistent grading. So you will see this, if I understand right, you see the rubric that we create as we're grading your exams, right? And if we're grading this person's exam and they had something a little bit wrong, and then this person had a different person, we had a different part wrong, we have to allocate points to those for that question, so it's consistent against among all of your exams. So you know that it's taking a little bit of the human factor out of grading your exam, so it's really cool. Mailing list, Piazza. I'm sure a lot of you have used Piazza for other courses. This is the preferred method of communication in this course. Okay, it's a collaborative discussion board, but I've got to warn you, be careful to not violate the academic integrity policy of this course when you're using Piazza, okay? So I'm going to direct you to the website, but, oh, sorry, not yet. There's more detail on the website. I'm actually probably going to go there in just a second so we can read it together, because I was just going to direct you to it, but I'm too scared that some of you are not going to go read the full syllabus and miss this detail. So we're going to talk about that in just a second. But before we do, you've got to know that there's a federal law that applies to me, okay? I'm a federal employee. And as a federal employee, there is a law that prohibits me from spending time on outside employment, aka this course, while I'm on the clock at the Army. Okay, what does that mean? That means if you need an answer right away to some question and you email me directly, I'm not even going to look at your email until I'm off the clock, because as awesome as each one of you are, you are not worth me violating federal law. Okay, fair enough, right? So Piazza, that's why I'm going to rely so heavily on Piazza, okay? Because if you have a question, chances are somebody else has a question, or somebody else in the class has an answer to your question. And in my experience, answering other people's questions is the best way to figure it out and internalize principles myself. So please feel free to answer other people's questions on Piazza. Please don't email me at the last minute thinking you're going to get an answer, because I have restrictions, right? I mean, I'm planning on all of us kind of being adults about this. I know that I'm not your typical professor, right? But they didn't just pull my name out of a hat. I know what I'm talking about. I'm the right instructor for this course. So I hope that this small accommodation is worth me being your professor, your instructor for this class, okay? Okay, I'm just gonna stop talking for like 5 minutes, give my voice a rest and give your brains a rest. So look at Twitter, I don't care, whatever. Okay, let's go ahead and get back into it. So I want to talk about some of the topics that we're going to talk about this semester. Just a few more things from the syllabus I want to talk about. Actually, let's go to the syllabus really quick. So I should be able to. Okay, so this is the course website. And specifically the oh yeah, that's on page one, the syllabus. Okay, so what I want to talk about is this right down here, the academic integrity policy. Okay, so if any of you have taken Dr. Dupay's courses, this is very similar to his academic integrity policy, which I know it's a little irritating sometimes, but I'm going to read it to you so that we're on the same page. Okay, this is important. Cheating will not be tolerated. Plagiarism, misrepresentation of work, falsification, or any form of cheating will result in any of the following. Okay, I'm not going to read all that. Students are allowed to use snippets of code found online, such as Stack Overflow, as long as 3 conditions. Number 1, proper credit for the source is given in a comment in your code. Condition 2, and this isn't the conjunctive, not right. So, as long as the snippet does not constitute a significant portion of your code, and 3, as long as the source is not another past or present student of the course. Okay, that would include me, because I actually was looking through some of my old code and I was like, oh yeah, I could totally this portion of the code would really help them with their project or this assignment. Well, oh wait, I would be violating my own academic integrity policy, so I didn't. Posting your assignment code online is expressly forbidden and will be considered a violation of the academic integrity policy. Note that this includes working out of a public GitHub repo. Okay. So this actually just changed like yesterday or today, right? But so GitHub now allows you to have private repositories for free. But even without that, as a student, you can get the GitHub Student Developer Pack. It provides unlimited private repos while you're a student. And please just don't use your coding assignments from this class to try to impress a future employer. Okay, that's what I'm really asking for here. I don't know if you've learned this secret about classes in college, but professors and teachers like to reuse stuff a lot because it reduces the level of effort that's required to put into the course, right? If we're being honest, that's why. We have so much else going on that if we can just kind of ramp up to a certain level and stay there, it's a lot easier. So that's why, part of the reason why. Okay, so hopping back to the slides, we're actually not on that one. This one, sorry, give me 1 second. Okay, some of the topics that we're going to talk about this semester are, first of all, principles of digital forensics, such as the process. So again, going back to the 2 main parts of forensics, the process and the technical knowledge, right? So we're going to talk about the process, what that looks like, how to do acquisition, authentication, analysis, and reporting, presentation, same thing. Also, rules of evidence is a really big part of that. We're going to talk about some computing basics such as file systems and how computers store data. I'm going to give you that technical knowledge after we talk about the process, right? We're also going to have you use some forensic tools. I don't know the status of the forensic tools. The tech support guys must be really, they got a lot on their plate this time of year. So, but we're going to get them in your hands one way or another. I'm not sure what that format's going to be yet. We're going to have you use commercial tools. We're going to have you write your own tools. We're going to talk to you about what constitutes cybercrime and some trends in cybercrime and not crime. That's not a word. And some other really cool topics that I'm excited to share with you. So grading policy. Homework is 60% of your grade. Exams 40%. So you've got a course project that we're still finalizing the details on it, but it's going to take up 20% of your grade. Now, I don't think I talk about that, but maybe I do. Sorry, I'll talk about it in a second. Attendance will affect your grade. So we don't have an attendance sheet today. That's the last time that's going to happen. Is it going to have like a percentage here? No. Are we going to take it into account when I assign your final grade? Yes. So if you have to miss it, there were 2 people that weren't able to come today for various reasons. That's fine. posting the lecture slides online and the recordings online so that if you can't come to class, that's fine. What I'm looking for are trends. Do you care about this course enough to come to class? That's what we're trying to figure out by taking attendance, okay? Okay, so homework is to be done individually unless I explicitly state otherwise, okay? There's going to be this project that's to be done in groups of 2, and so I'm really excited about this project, okay? Who here has heard of this? It's kind of an obscure technology, but blockchain? Okay, so there are lots of uses. So I read this article just in the last week about how these researchers were trying to figure out where blockchain has actually provided benefit, right? So they did this big survey, hundreds of blockchain consultant firms and everything like that. Guess how many positive responses they got back? 0. Nobody has actually seen any benefit from using blockchain in technologies, right? So these people that went crazy over it were like, yeah, it's going to change the world. It's going to make everything so much better. So far, we haven't seen that. Like, yeah, cryptocurrency is one thing, but that's a different topic. But we haven't seen. So okay, so where I'm getting at is you're going to build a blockchain for forensics, okay? And in the process, I hope that you learn why blockchains are not the right solution, even though I'm making you make a solution for forensics using blockchain. So it's purely an academic exercise that I hope never makes it into production, like in the real world, because that would be bad. We'll talk about the details more when I introduce it, but I'm excited for it because it's going to give you that experience building a blockchain, and so that you can intelligently speak with others when they get really hyped up in your face about how awesome blockchain is. And you'd be like, well, if it doesn't fit these 4 criteria, Okay. Third thing we're going to do is paper report. I kind of already talked about this, that the honor students and the grad students are going to give a presentation, and everybody's going to write a report on a research paper. I have not, so yeah, it's going to be a 20-minute presentation, which means that, number one, you can't spend just a half an hour trying to understand the paper, right? You've got to actually put some time into understanding the paper, which is what I'm getting at, by making you present for 20 minutes on a paper that's not yours. As far as I didn't include this here. It's in the syllabus what the requirements are for the report. I think it's like 5 pages, but double space. I don't remember. It's in the syllabus. I want you guys to actually explore these papers and get to know them, because this research papers are where the new stuff is happening in forensics. So, and actually, these aren't going to be all new papers necessarily. Some of them are going to be really influential older papers that if you understand the principles behind them, you'll be able to speak more intelligently about the current state of the art in forensics. Late work, 20% deduction each day late. Okay. One of the ways I'm factoring that in is that before we actually start doing the paper presentations, the due date for your reports will be early enough that you can't go to the presentation and then go home and write your report. Okay, again, attendance will affect your grade. We will take that into account. We already talked about academic integrity, regular rules apply, use coastal snippets are good as long as these 3 conditions are met. Posting assignment code online is not allowed. Please be familiar with the actual terminology in the syllabus. I know I read it to you, but make sure you know what you're doing. Okay. What does the class format look like? I'm going to stand up here and talk to you until you fall asleep or are blue in the face. No. I'll post the lecture notes on slide online. Videos will be online. Links to videos will be on the website. We're going to do some in-class exercises. I haven't decided how many yet, because I don't want to overburden you with in-class exercises and programming assignments. but at the same time, there are certain things that I want you to do that I know that it's helpful to have someone. Well, number one, you'll be doing it in pairs, and number two, we will be here to help you through it and kind of step through the process. So if you're running into problems, that's easier than coming to office hours or something like that. Okay, any questions about anything we've talked about? Yeah.
Are there different two student groups for each class?
No.
Or are they the same? Like,
Yes. Yeah. So at the end of today, I'm going to give you guys like 5 or 10 minutes to just talk and find groups for the semester. Okay. Good question. Was there not? Yeah. So what I really want is for all of you to write every assignment in COBOL. No, I'm just kidding. I couldn't help it. So I love Python. I'm not going to require you to write Python, but because of certain features of Python, it is going to make certain assignments a lot easier to write. I will give a little tutorial on Python. We're done at 4:15, right? Okay. All right. I don't know where that guy thinks he is, but I'm going to give you a little tutorial on Python in case you decide to use it. Who here knows Python? You just made my heart so happy. Okay, sorry. Every day at work, I work in a place called the Data Science Directorate for the Network Enterprise Technology Command with NetCom, and everybody in the Army thinks that the language R, is like the best thing ever. I'm just like, so they're forcing me to learn it, and every time I learn something new about the programming language R, I think, what are you thinking? Why would you make a programming language that way? Because it just doesn't make any sense from a computer science standpoint. It was built by mathematicians, and it makes sense to them and their math brains, but as far as like computer sciencey stuff, it doesn't make any sense. How did I get on that tangent? Oh, programming languages. I'm sorry. I'm not going to require you to write in any particular programming languages. Pretty much all of our homework assignments and the project need to be Linux compatible. So the system that you're going to submit your assignments to is going to auto-build your homework and run tests against it and all that stuff, right? So I'm mandating that you write it in a Linux-compatible way with the makefile if necessary. So we'll go over all of that before the first assignment, but does that answer your question? Okay. That was a lot of hands for Python. That made my day, you guys. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. I feel like we already talked about a lot of this. Okay, so there's some pretty expensive forensic software out there. We have acquired licenses for you for the software that you'll be required to use for some of the assignments. So you won't have to worry about that. We will have to figure out how to get that into your hands. There's a cart of laptops that we'll bring in sometimes for the in-class exercises that has that software on it. I am still trying to figure out is the IA lab still a thing? Like there used to be a computer lab just for IA students on the 3rd floor over there. Nobody knows? Been here too long. We'll figure that out and get you more details. But yeah. Okay. Oh, here we go. Sorry, I obviously didn't have a chance to go through all these slides from start to finish. We already answered these questions. Groups of 2 for the course projects. Program for tracking actions taken with evidence while in custody. That's what is going to be in the blockchain. Command line, Linux compatible programming languages. But from there, it's your choice. Okay, here's an important thing to note. You've got to form your group by January 16th. That's next week. We will send out instructions for how to submit your groups via Piazza. But again, we'll give you some time at the end of lecture today to take care of that. Any other questions? Any questions about what we've talked about so far? Okay, great. So that's it for the course introduction. By the way, so the way I organize my slides is by topic. So this was lecture 0. And so now we're going to jump into topic 1, where we're going to talk about introduction to forensics. I will post them by topic. So as we finish a topic, I will post it on the course website. Okay. So if you're like, dude, Mike, can't find the lecture slides from last time. Where are they? And if you talk to me in that voice, I'm gonna have a hard time not laughing. But please do. That would be awesome. I'll say, well, we haven't finished that topic yet, so that's why I haven't posted the slides. So that's what to expect there. Okay, so let's switch over to this intro. By the way, I would, hey, let's go to the beginning, Man, spoiling all my surprises. I would love any feedback you have on the lecture recordings. This is my first time recording a lecture, and especially with this setup, I don't know what it's going to sound like once it's on YouTube. So please let me know. Yeah, what's up?
Are you going to post the lecture recordings by topic as well, or by class?
By class. I know that's super confusing, but yes. To me, it makes more sense in my mind to do it that way. Because if you're like, oh, I need to study file systems, then you go to that slide. You don't have to go to the lecture schedule and find where we talked about that, to find the corresponding day to figure out the lecture slides to pull up. You know what I mean? I just hated that as a student, being like, trying to figure out which slides had the topic I was trying to study up on. So I'm trying to do you a favor by making it so complicated. Just kidding. Okay, any other questions? That was a good question. All right. Okay, so before we talk about digital forensics specifically, let's talk about general forensic science. So anytime I told somebody that I was a grad student at ASU and doing research in digital forensics, they said, oh, that sounds really cool. What is that? And I would always start out by saying, well, you're familiar with what forensics is, right? And they'd be, yeah, sure. You get evidence and you try to solve a crime. I say, yeah, that, but with digital stuff. And they say, oh, that makes more sense. So let's start at the foundation and talk about forensic science really quick. So forensic science, similar to the definition we had for digital forensics, is the application of science to those criminal and civil laws that are enforced by police agencies in a criminal justice system. Sorry. Law and Order, anyone? No? Okay, I'm sorry. It's stressful lecturing, okay? I'm going to crack some really stupid jokes. I have 3 kids, so I am officially a dad. So you can call them dad jokes if you want to. But I'm going to make a lot of dumb jokes. If that offends you, the ADREP job deadline hasn't passed yet. You're welcome. Okay, I'm going to get myself in trouble. Okay, so there's lots of different areas where forensic science applies. You've got chemistry, biology, physics, geology. Each one of these areas has really, if you go really deep into that area, you can do better forensics on evidence that relates to that area, right? Anybody ever watched the series Bones? 2 people, 3 people? Okay, a few people, right? So, okay, if that's not enough people for me to go down that tangent, so never mind. Okay. all of these disciplines and doing forensics with these topics, it places the physical evidence into professional discipline. So you're not just analyzing it, you're not just working with the materials. You've got a very specific objective that you're trying to accomplish when you're working with these. Okay, so some of the history of forensics, it was kind of popularized by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. I don't know why, but that name is really hard for me to pronounce. He popularized this idea of physical detection methods in a crime scene with his character, Sherlock Holmes, right? So he had publications ranging from 1887 to 1927. I don't know, have you guys ever read any of the Sherlock Holmes books? Ain't no one? Okay, couple. Okay, that makes me feel better. They're actually really interesting. I was reading a collection of them, and after a while, I was like, I felt like I was reading the same thing over and over again a little bit. So I kind of gave up a little bit, but they're really good, the ones that I read. Man, I am like bombing today, aren't I? Okay, so you probably know Sherlock Holmes from popularized media, right? So this one, it's ancient. I'm actually not familiar with this one, but you've got this Sherlock. Sherlock is the name of it, right? And this one's elementary. And you've got Robert Downey Jr. put aside his Iron Man suit for a little while to do that movie. So this popularized it, but there's actually a lot of science that goes in behind all this. And there was a phenomenon several years ago when the show CSI came out. There was a CSI effect. It was like a thing that people researched because this show was having an effect on people, on the public's opinion of things and changing how people saw forensic science. And so as great as those depictions are, they might mislead you to think that a few people in the lab can solve these really complex cases, right? It's kind of a more step-by-step studious application of technical knowledge. Okay, so this guy, I don't even know how to pronounce his name, but he's considered the father of criminal detection. He developed this method of identifying a person, an individual, by using body measurements. So you realize that my body measurements are different. I'm sorry, that's just so funny. Of course I'm different physically than most people, right? Actually, really random fact. Anyone want to guess how many standard deviations taller than the average American male I am? 2. Low. That's too low. 3. Still too low. 4.7 standard deviations. That's how much taller I am than the average adult male in the US. 4.7. That's crazy. I had to buy a car last week. You know the worst part? Going around and sitting in cars to see if I fit in them and not fitting in them. It was so stressful. But let's bring this back to reality, shall we? In a practical setting, if you know someone's dimensions really well, you might be able to identify them based on certain characteristics. I've spent way too much time on this slide. This guy figured out that fingerprints were a thing and even wrote a paper on it, and it's pretty cool. This lady, I don't know, devised a simple procedure for determining the blood type from a dried blood stain, right? So you can see that all of these areas are as we progress through history, are getting a little bit more sophisticated and a little bit more further into the science of analyzing evidence, right? We even have Calvin Goddard, who used a comparison microscope to determine if a bullet was fired from a specific gun. He called these tool markings on the bullets. And that was the first instance of identifying the weapon that was used in a murder. And then jumping forward, we've got Sir Alec Jeffreys, who developed a method for identifying one strand of DNA from another, which, as we all know, has been a huge leap forward in identifying lots of different perpetrators of crimes. And then even in more recent history, 2004, Purdue figured out a way to identify a specific scanner or printer based on minute differences in their output. Okay, so all of these different areas I hope you can see that somebody had a really deep understanding of that area, and they were able to apply it in such a way that it was useful for forensic science. We're going to do the same thing with digital evidence, okay? But first, we kind of have to know, you know what, we're going to pick up right here next time, so don't go anywhere. What I want you to do is find your friend that you haven't seen since last semester and decide if you want to pair up to be a group this semester, okay?